Check that. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
My mic got changed, so nobody can hear anything I just said. Oh,
Okay.
that's terrific. But yeah, anyways, yeah, let's just get right into it. I'm David Huffman. That's TJ Hopkins. This is the crossover. This is buyers and sellers. We're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline as we are getting close to that NBA trade deadline. And if you know basketball, you can join us on a podcast. So do go ahead and do that with StreamYard link. I've also shared all the streaming places. TJ, welcome into the show, man. How are you?
Tired.
Yeah, I bet the school and work thing probably wearing you down a little bit, but I'm glad you made it on the show, man. Welcome into the crossover. We got a lot to talk about today, actually.
Yeah, we do.
We're gonna talk about buyers and sellers. We're gonna talk about that Laker trade, the first trade of the season, and then we are going to talk about something, nothing, everything. Then, of course, the staple of the crossover here at Prime Sports World, Golf Talk. It's the one that we didn't get to do last week. We're bringing it back this week. But yeah, if you have a lot of knowledge on the NBA, you can join us on chat and join us in the show. Otherwise, please don't try to join. So let's
That's
do it.
not a
NBA trade deadline. So I have picked 6 teams in the Eastern Conference that I think could be on the bubble there between buyers and sellers, and I picked 6 teams in the Western Conference that I think could be on the fence between buyers and sellers. So TJ, we're gonna break them up. So this is pretty easy. So I left out obvious teams like Boston Celtics, buyers. Philadelphia 76ers are gonna be buyers. Milwaukee, Brooklyn
Milwaukee.
Cavaliers, the Heat are probably all buyers. On the Western Conference side of this, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Clippers, Mavericks are probably all buyers. I think Sacramento somewhere in between, but I did not list them on this graphic. But I think they're probably buyers in this case just to make the playoffs because it's been so long since they did so. Um,
Yeah, 2 decades.
yeah, 2 decades. It's been a while.
It's been
Been a
a
real
long
long
time.
while.
Long time.
So. But yeah, so I will let you pick the first team that you want to pick in one of the categories, either buyers or sellers. TJ, which team do you think should be buyers or sellers? And the teams that I have picked, of course, are the Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors, Indiana Pacers, New York Knicks, Chicago Bulls, and the Washington Wizards in the Eastern Conference. And in the Western Conference, we got the Phoenix Suns, Utah Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, the surging Oklahoma City Thunder,
City Thunder.
Los
Right.
Angeles Lakers, and the Golden State
Well,
Warriors.
we're gonna start in the East, but not with the team I think you want to start with. We're gonna start with the Toronto Raptors, and I think the Toronto Raptors should be sellers. I think the Toronto Raptors have kind of, you know, the lust and lore of that championship run that they went on. It's gone. It's by the wayside. Obviously because the guy that was the catalyst to that
Yeah, they're
championship
20,
is
21 and
gone.
27 this season. Also, Nick Nurse this has probably been his poorest coaching job, and all that front office has done a terrible job of building this roster. Like they basically were like, oh hey, we're gonna have we're gonna have like basically the same player play every position on our team, and then we're gonna see how that goes. How's it going? Not so good.
Like you have a bunch like the logic behind their roster construct. I don't have an issue with because you got guys outside of Van Fleet because of his size. But once you got and what's his name and Gary Trent Jr. But like when you got guys like OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, Delano Bannon, and like a bunch of other those guys like that's interchangeable. Like you got guys that can play 1 through 5 because we've seen Siakam initiate the offense, bring the ball up court, all that other good stuff, right?
Scotty Barnes, I mean Chris
Scotty
Boucher,
Scotty Barnes,
Precious
Scotty Barnes, Chris
Achua,
Boucher, Precious Achua,
Thad
like
Young, who they traded a first round pick for some reason.
but you got guys that can play 1 through 5, and that's what basketball is now. It's positionless basketball. But when some of those guys aren't taking the strides that you thought they would, aka Scotty Barnes, and I get it. I'm basically the main guy that be on here preaching. Hey, you got to have patience with some of these young dudes because everybody don't hit the ground running like most of these rookies do.
I think
But
because he won Rookie of the Year, the timeline got escalated
his timeline got escalated. Yeah.
yeah, unfairly.
So, but yeah, they should definitely be sellers. Don't think I don't think they know what they want to do, and
I think that's
that's
true. I
the
think they
issue.
have a front office that is used to trying to build a winner. They have a head coach that really hasn't done a lot of losing. I mean, they made the playoffs every season he's been there.
And
I think
and
it's. I think
and I'm sorry, control, but like, but it's like when you really think about that, what you just said, right? They've always built the winner, right? When you go from Dwayne Casey to Nick Nurse, all those Dwayne Casey teams made the playoffs. They went
yeah.
to Eastern Conference Finals. They went from Kyle Lowry to DeMar DeRozan to Kawhi Leonard, now Pascal Siakam, and it's like all they know is success. So it's like this is kind of like new territory for them.
Yeah, I agree with you on Toronto. Moving on, let's go. I'm going to take one. I'm going to go. I'm going to stay in the Eastern Conference, but I'm actually going to go a team that plays in the East or in the whatever the Atlantic, I guess it's called. I'm going to go New York Knicks as a buyer. I think one of those players like that, a team that like a Pascal Siakam or an OG Anunoby or even a Fred VanVleet, it comes available, especially Pascal Siakam, who the Toronto Raptors could get a king's
Mm-hmm.
ransom for because he is a really good basketball player. But I think the New York Knicks, given their I think it's their incentive there to be good this season.
Mm-hmm.
They're solid right now, 26 and 23. Julius Randle has really turned it on to what he was when he won Most Improved Player.
Most improved.
He's borderline all-star. I mean, Jalen Brunson's been really good this season. I mean, he hasn't been Donovan Mitchell good, but he's been a pretty solid player for the New York Knicks so far this season. And if they can get it Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby and just kind of strengthen this roster a little bit, or any of these pieces, these fringe Magic pieces or fringe Hornet pieces or fringe Detroit Pistons pieces. I obviously didn't pick those teams on this list because they're going to be sellers for sure. I mean,
For
the
sure.
Spurs, whatever they got there, the Houston
I just
Rockets, if they got any value, Eric Gordon, some kind of player like that. I got the Knicks as a buyer.
and like when you look at the Knicks, I think I legit think the most important player on the Knicks is not even Jalen Brunson. It's not Julius Randle. It's not RJ Barrett. The most important player on the Knicks is Mitchell Robertson.
Yeah.
Like dead ass. Like he really is like the anchor for that team. Because when he's on the court, he can literally guard everybody. Like he can make it. Like he
Yeah,
that's what he
he's been
does.
extremely valuable basically since he came back from injury. He's without a doubt. I wouldn't say
And
their most valuable player, but he is the straw that stirs that engine.
and he is but he has two issues. Like you just brought up one. One is the injury history, the injury history. The second is when he is on the court, he is liable to get into foul trouble. So like that does happen.
Well, he is undersized at the center position, but I think the Knicks are going to be buyers. I think they're going to try to continue to try to make the playoffs and
What do you
boost up
mean
their.
undersized? Mitch Robinson's like 6'10".
Yeah, but he doesn't weigh a lot. I mean, he's like a bag of bones.
No, like what I'm not gonna do is like compare him to like Nick Claxton. He's not Nick Claxton.
Okay, for sure. You're not. He's not that, but he's not exactly like Joel Embiid, who's like a mammoth human being.
A lot of people aren't Joel Embiid.
It's true. It's true. Who you got next?
Who do I have next? The Hawks.
All
I
right,
think the
Hawks.
I'm like should the Hawks be sellers? I think the Hawks
I
should
know
be
it's your
sellers.
call, man.
I think the Hawks should be sellers. It's again like you're going off of one Eastern Conference Final run that you had a couple years ago that you caught quote unquote you caught everybody by storm. You probably shouldn't have even made it that far. Um,
There's no should be about it. I mean,
you
if Ben
shouldn't have.
Simmons shoots that ball,
It's not
they,
even
they
that. It's not even Ben Simmons. If Tobias Harris plays better, like
yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of stuff, but
it's a bunch of stuff, right? So you got that. Obviously the stuff with Trey Young is constantly learning around. Like you don't know. I think like he's a day to day case.
yeah, it's true.
One one day him and Nick McMillan rock with each other. The next day it looks like it's contention between the two. obviously when you traded for DeJounte Murray, you thought he was the missing piece, and you didn't think you'd be in the ninth seed or the eighth seed, wherever they're at, with the roster that you currently have.
They're currently the eighth seed, currently in the play-in.
Playing like
Yeah,
you did
I
not
definitely
like
didn't
when you
think the Atlanta
traded for
Hawks would be the
DeJounte.
eighth seed.
When you traded for DeJounte Murray, you were not thinking playing.
Yeah, that trade by the day looks worse and worse. I mean, a bunch of trades that have been made over the last couple of like off seasons / seasons are looking bad now. Like that Gobert trade looks terrible already. The DeJounte Murray. I didn't even put Minnesota on this list because they have nothing they could trade and they have nothing they could like. There's no assets whatsoever on that team right now. And then the Hawks, the DeJounte Murray trade, giving up all the future assets and pushing your chips all to the middle. That this is going to be the team that's going to take you where you need to go. Yeah, it looks bad.
like you're stuck with this roster for the foreseeable future.
Moving on from the Atlanta Hawks, I'm going to jump into mine. I'm going to take another seller or another buyer because that's what I seem to be doing now. I'm actually going to swing into the Western Conference because nobody's touched the Western Conference team. I'm taking the Golden State Warriors. I think the Golden State Warriors are clearly buyers. Their young players have not really panned out. The Jonathan Kumingos of the world, the James Wisemans of the world.
That's why they should be sellers. Shouldn't that make them sellers?
No, because if they're trying to sell off those pieces and buy like contracts, they're going to be buyers. That makes them a buyer. So they're going to trade. They're going to take all of those chips, those 3 chips that they have, plus whatever draft capital they got, and they're going to try to get somebody who fits the timeline. The timeline is this particular season because there's nothing guaranteed after this season. Draymond Green could be gone. Klay Thompson could potentially be gone. I doubt it, but he could be. Golden State is going to be a buyer heading into the trade deadline. They've woefully underachieved based on injuries and just bad play on defense. And as we talked about this before, they're woeful on the road.
They're terrible on the road.
They're 6-18 on the road, like terrible, real bad. And their defense is damn near dead last in the Western Conference. Like they're 3rd worst in the Western Conference on defense. Who do you think is worse than them?
In the West?
In the West.
I know the Lakers got to be up there.
The Lakers are the 2nd worst team in the West on defense.
And Joel Embiid just, did a little DX celebration. I'm surprised that wasn't a check. He will definitely get fired for that celebration he just did.
Man, DX was in Philadelphia yesterday. Earlier this week.
Joel Embiid, get ready to send Adam Silver.
And the Spurs are the worst team defensively in the NBA.
Like, bro, first off, like, you brought up the Rudy Gobert trade, right? You know how bad that has screwed up any trade going forward. That trade has the San Antonio Spurs thinking they can get 2 firsts for Jakob Poeltl.
By the way, if you have not played, I know you don't play that game. It is addicting. That Poeltl game where you have to guess the NBA player every day. I play it literally every day. Like, it's so much fun. I found another one. We can play it at the very, very end of this show. It's called Larry Bird 2.
No.
Dude, it's fun. You'll have fun. You'll have a good time. We're just gonna check it out at the end of the show. Go ahead. It's your turn.
So I'm gonna go to the West. I think the Utah Jazz should also be sellers, especially when you got guys like Mike Conley and why is it escaping me? They literally just
Jordan Clarkson. They got a bunch of guys on their roster.
Thank you. Like you got guys like Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson who could go to like any of those top teams in the West and like immediately, or in the East, whoever, like wherever, and put them over. Right? Like, you already got your untouchables in Utah that you're not trading. Larry Markkinen seems to be a new staple of that franchise. Same thing with Colin Sexton. Same thing with and you're not gonna trade Walker Kessler because you literally just like basically drafted him, and yeah. So like your new foundation is there for the Utah Jazz. Larry Markkinen is going to be an all-star this year, and yeah, he's untouchable. So the Utah Jazz should definitely be sellers and continue to build on the new foundation that they have there.
Swing from the Utah Jazz. I'm going to swing back into the Eastern Conference, and I'm going to grab this team before you get the opportunity to do so. I'm going to take the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to make them sellers. I think I know that they've won too. We talked about this in the last episode. I think
too many games, yeah.
They've won too many games to preserve that draft pick. But I think Zach LaVine's value is as high as it's going to get. And I think if you can get something legitimate, like if you can get a Rudy Gobert haul for Zach LaVine, I think you pull the trigger on it. I don't know if that trade exists. Like the New York Knicks have a bunch of draft capital they could look to move, plus some young players that could be interesting for the Bulls. I think if you have the opportunity to make that trade, I think you do it. I think if that DeMar DeRozan, even though the Lakers don't seem like they want to trade Westbrook anymore, but if that DeMar DeRozan Vucevic trade with any of those first round picks from the Lakers is on the table, I would pull the trigger on that too. I'm going to take the Bulls. I'm going to make them sellers. I know they've been better as of late, but I still don't think, even with that, they're going to be good enough to really compete in the Eastern Conference, no matter who gets healthy and when they get healthy. That's just my stance on it. I'm taking the Bulls and making them a seller.
Of course you are.
I mean, you had your chance, man. You had your chance. Welcome into the show, Israel Rivera, man. Welcome to the show. No,
what's going on?
I gave you a bunch of opportunities. I skipped the Bulls twice, and I was like, "Oh, TJ's going to take the Bulls." Well, TJ's going to take. You never did. This is what happens, man. They're sellers now. It's been exciting. Welcome into the show, CEO of Prize was Israel Rivera, and you see how we're doing here, right?
Yes, sir.
These teams that are fringe buyers and sellers, we're making them buyers and sellers according to us. And TJ is on the clock, and then you can go. Actually, I think you're on the clock.
I don't know why I said Philly. Phoenix should definitely be a buyer. I just think Phoenix has just been riddled with not injuries, but an injury, right? Like when Devin Booker's not there, it's just like they're a different team, man. It's like Jesus Christ, like they're basically
also there's rumors that like potentially moving on for Chris Paul, right, for the future. I've been hearing that a while for the Phoenix Suns.
I mean, he's under contract for 2 more seasons. I would be shocked if somebody was going to be willing to trade for that contract. But yeah, Phoenix, they're better than the record entails. I mean, they're sitting here at 25 and 24. Chris Paul has missed a bunch of time. Devin Booker's missed some time. DeAndre Ayton has been not good, and he's missed some time. But they're the second best defensive team in the Western Conference right now, and that's without their 2 best players playing majority of the season. So that's really something to hold your head on. Like, hey, we've struggled, but at least we've been good defensively. They're the third best or fifth best player team defensively in the NBA right now.
They haven't traded what's his name, Jay Crowder yet. It's like, yo, what are y'all waiting on?
I think that's just a matter of time. They may even straight up buy him out at some point. I don't know why Jay Crowder's so upset. He plays in the NBA. You got to know that trades happen, and your name's going to get floated around in trade talks.
Absolutely.
And, I don't get it. But yeah, I think there are going to be buyers as well. Izzy.
If I got to pick, we're just strictly buyers or sellers, just any either or, right? I'll start with the Eastern Conference.
Of the teams that's listed.
Yeah. That's left. If I gotta go, I'll start with the Eastern Conference. I go with Indiana Pacers as sellers. I think that Miles Turner will be dealt at some point. Especially I think by the trade deadline. I think we talked about it. I don't know about the Lakers. They just drafted. They just got Rui Hachimura. So I don't know how much of
they did not give up anything that affects their ability to make a trade if they don't want to. If they want to,
yeah, for Miles Turner, right? They basically gave up a bag of chips and Kendrick Nunn, right? Yep. For Rui Hachimura. So
three second round picks is literally nothing.
Definitely sellers. I mean, now losing Miles Turner, takes away that defensive call for them. But I think, like we said, the last couple of years they've been trying to go young. They traded for Tyrese Halliburton last year. I think it is, likely that they will probably move on. He's like their biggest asset right now on the team for now. So yeah, for me as sellers, definitely Indiana Pacers.
I totally agree with you. I think Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, even though Miles Turner has been in trade rumors for feels like 3 years, but I think they finally pulled the trigger on that trade. I think that happens before the trade deadline. I think somebody trades for him. I don't know who or where, but I think that gets done. I will swing into the Western Conference, and I'm actually going to take my second seller. I'm going to go the Portland Trailblazers as a seller. I know they have Damian Lillard. I know they have Jeremy Grant, who at one point I made an argument that he should be an all-star. I'm not so sure anymore, given how much they've fallen off. They were a nice story at the beginning of the season when they were playing well and they were like in the top 4 in the Western Conference. Me and TJ both talked about this.
Like most teams are at the start of the season.
There was no way they were going to be able to keep that up. The burden on Damian Lillard to be incredible every night is just too great. I'm not also, but I put them in sellers, but I'm not sure what they have that teams want, which is why the team isn't that good. Like I look at their roster, I'm just like, Yusuf Nurkic. Do teams want Yusuf Nurkic? No. Do teams want Josh Hart? Maybe. I just think there's not a lot of pieces on this roster when you point to it and be like, yeah, that's a player that some team might trade for. But I still make them sellers. I think they could still flip Jeremy Grant if they wanted to. I'll give Portland as a seller.
That see, OKC should definitely be. I don't want them to sell anything because they have their core, and I don't want them to buy anything because that runs the risk of blowing up the core. Right, so like when you go to OKC, you already know that SGA is untouchable, Giddey's untouchable.
I mean, Lou Dort, I think if he got the right offer for him, I think they trade him. I don't think he's an essential piece to what they're going to be doing in the future. But I think
did they just sign him to a contract last offseason?
He did, but he could be traded now. I mean, they have some young pieces that could be traded. I mean, what I mean, I guess the Thunder have to decide what's more important to them, like having a really high draft pick in this year's draft, which I already think they've won too many games too now to be really in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. So like try to make the playoffs, like show SGA, like this is a guy that is floated around in trade rumors like crazy. Like, hey, this is gonna be the next guy who wants to be traded somewhere else. Win the games, go to the playoffs, show them you have a commitment to winning. I mean, they have Aaron Wiggins that they could trade away. Williams, Darius Baisley's got some value. Kendrick Williams, who was crazy at the trade deadline last year. They could be moving some pieces to try to shore up this offensive line, especially at center. Because Mike Muscala is currently their starting center, which is not.
I mean, you got to remember too. I mean, this is a team that before the season they lost Chet Holmgren. Yeah. So you're essentially gaining, a top 3 pick next year on that team anyway. So yeah, I agree with David. Try to make the playoffs. Because at this point you got a guy that's in a way like a unicorn, just like a Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. So,
but I think in TJ's point, I wouldn't try to compromise the future in order to make the playoffs this season, right? Is that what TJ? Right. That your argument, right?
Like they're at a stage where if you want to tank and rebuild, look at the OKC Thunder, right? Like they sucked for years. Like they've made trades. Obviously, when you traded away Paul George and you didn't see SGA what he is now, but like it's like you have like 1 million draft picks for the next 10 years. So I don't know, like if you want to be a buyer, it's not like you can't. I mean, like you want to be a seller, it's not like you can't. It's not like draft compensation is something you don't have to worry about. You have a bunch of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave Oklahoma City and Thunder in the center because I don't really think they fit into either category. I just thought they'd be a fun conversation because of how well they're playing. We'll just leave them in the middle because I don't think they're really buyers or sellers. I think they're kind of that team that's kind of in the middle. They could go either way, really. Izzy, you're on the clock.
On the clock again. I'm gonna go with the Los Angeles Lakers. Man, they're definitely buyers. I know they traded for Rui Hachimura, getting rid of Kendrick Nunn, 3 second-round picks. But
we're going to talk about that trade here in a minute.
We're still going to need shooting. We're still going to need defense, and I think they try and get a trade with the team I talked about earlier, and that's the Indiana Pacers. Whether it's for Buddy Hield or Miles Turner, because like I said before, they need a true center because AD doesn't like playing the 5. He likes playing the 4, and he's pretty much forced into playing that 5. And I think that banging with like some of those bigger centers in the league. I think that'll help him out. I mean, he's Mr. I mean, I don't like saying that stuff, but he's kind of like Mr. Glass. He is Mr. Glass. But yeah, no, I think Buddy Hield would fit perfectly with what the Lakers need. They need a guy that, when LeBron penetrates, when Westbrook penetrates, he can, kick it out to a guy that can make like abundance of threes. And I think what Buddy Hield made the NBA, it's an NBA record, right? For 3-pointers in his first few seasons, right? In the first, 5-6 seasons, something like that. So yeah, Lakers are definitely buyers. They need shooting. They need defense. I don't know who they move. I mean, you got Patrick Beverly that you can move. No one's going to take on that Russell Westbrook contract. I mean,
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that, but I think he's become it's so important for what they do as a team. I don't think they can trade him. But he's the only contract they have that's he's the only contract they could trade. Like, they don't have an abundance of like mini contracts, like $20 million contracts, $10 million contracts that they can combine together to make the trade for somebody who's going to make this roster better this season without compromising future assets. We'll get to
$7 million he's making right now. God. But I mean, he's doing a well off the bench, though. Yeah.
Real quick, before we get on to the next topic, Washington Wizards. Let's just bank them over here at Sellers real fast.
Yep.
I think Izzy kind of touched it in our group chat. I'm sure they beat the Dallas Mavericks last night, but this roster is just not that good, and these players are constantly in and out. I mean, if you can get something legitimate for Denny Avdija, Kyle Kuzma, Taj Gibson, Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, like Daniel Gafford, Monte Morris, DeLon Wright, Kendrick Nunn now, Will the Thrill Barton, who's on this roster, Corey Kispert. If you can get something legitimate like future assets and draft capital, and free up some minutes for their guy like Johnny Davis, who they drafted, who's dying in the G League right now. He's basically not playing at all. So
I don't understand. Me and TJ don't understand why they drafted him if they're not going to play him.
You're not going to play him, bro.
I don't think
what are you doing?
They must not be seeing what they want out of him in practice over in the G League. Because I can't answer that. But you trade a guy, you get a guy in the top 10, and you refuse to play him. Like, I just don't. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Let me ask you guys something.
Especially for a Wizards team that isn't going anywhere, you might as well find.
What's the likeliness? I've heard some rumors. What's the likeliness of Kyle Kuzma maybe going back to the Lakers?
I think if that was going to happen, it would have happened instead of the Rui Hachimura trade.
Yeah, absolutely.
But moving on, let's talk about. We have our first trade of the season. The Lakers obviously receive Rui Hachimura. The Washington Wizards receive Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. Look at Hachimura's stats right there: 13 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Kendrick Nunn, who hasn't played all that much this season or last season, averaging 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. So what do we think this trade means for both teams, if anything at all?
Well, Izzy brought up what they needed. They need 3-point shooting and defense. Rui shooting like 42% from 3, and he can play defense. Right, you need that knockdown spot up. You need that knockdown spot up shooter in the corner. So LeBron James and Westbrook, when those two dudes drive and kick, Rui could be that guy. Now, everybody wants to make a big deal out of he's shooting 42%, but that's for the Wizards. The lights are brighter here. The lights are brighter here in LA. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the rim doesn't get any smaller. The rim
does not get any right. The rim don't get no smaller.
The court doesn't get the 3-point line doesn't all of a sudden become like a 80-footer. Like, come on. But yeah, Rudy Hachimura. The thing with great about him is that he's a versatile big, right? So like he can play 5 through 2 really, and you could use him to spread out. And he gives you some defensive versatility as well, and he gives you the ability to switch on pick and roll, which is what they've needed really, because they get killed on that stuff.
Now it's kind of what you call it, surprising at the trade, because you traded Kendrick Nunn right when Kendrick Nunn started to play some of his best basketball. Right? Like, he literally just had a game, I think 2 games ago, where he hit like 7 threes. I think that was that the Portland? That the Portland game? I forgot who that was against.
It was not in the Portland game. He only scored 5 points in the Portland game. He did have a good game against He had a good game against Sacramento. Again, they lost. He had 14 points in that game.
When he was
he had a game against Atlanta where he hit 3 threes and scored 23 points. He hasn't been all that good.
Yeah, he had 4 3. Yeah, like you said, he had 4 threes against Sacramento. I think 7 threes in those 2 games. between them and Memphis, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
Compared to what he compared, because keep in mind, like that one season, he just didn't play at all. It's
Yeah, no, he didn't.
like, like what was that? Like that was literally last year. Like last year, he didn't play at all.
Nope. I think he
And
played like
he's
8
a
games
guy.
last season.
He's a guy. He's a guy. If he stays healthy, I mean, it's hard. I mean, in the NBA, how many left-hand shooters do you have, right? But he's a guy that's left-handed. He can shoot. He can shoot a spot up three. He can create off the dribble. When I look at Rui though, he kind of feels in right. Like David said, he doesn't move the needle for the Lakers. Like people are like, oh, does this Rui Hachimura trade make them a playoff contender? No, not in the Western Conference. I mean, it might get them to the play-in game. I mean, that depends on AD's health, right? But at the same
And
time,
LeBron's health and the
and
continued.
LeBron's health.
Yeah.
And so I think Rui in this age of positionless basketball, where he's a 6'8", basically he can play 3 through 5, like David said. He can stretch out your five, but he's too small to bang down there. He's averaging less than 4 rebounds in his career, but he's definitely a spot up shooter. He's great at the corner three. So like LeBron loves to kick it out to guys on the corner three, and we've seen this year how many times have the Lakers kicked it out to a guy like Patrick Beverly in the corner and he misses it, or Russell Westbrook and he misses it. So you need a guy that's going to knock it down. That's why I say the Lakers are buyers and need shooters. But I think Rui's a guy that needed probably a change in Washington, right? You got Porzingis there, you got Kuzma there, you got
Out of the rotation there too.
yeah, he's falling out of the rotation, right? And he kind of lands in the perfect spot where they're going to use him and utilize him. And defensively, he's solid. He's solid defensively. He can't. He like I said, he ain't gonna be banging with Jokic or nothing like that. But he can guard the three. He can guard a four. On the wing.
On the Wizard side, I just don't understand this trade. Like, Rui Hachimura was pretty solid for them, and like the guy Kendrick Nunn hasn't been good this season, so you end up unless they really value the second round picks. I just on the Wizards side, I don't really understand this trade. Like they have done a poor job of drafting in the last few seasons.
Here's the thing. Here's the logic behind second round picks, right? David, you brought up something about. For one, I think it's just completely asinine. I'm not calling Joker the greatest draft pick ever. Not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. But he's the greatest draft steal ever. So what if you get a surplus of second round picks and you stumble upon the next Joker? That's entirely possible. What if you get a steal like that in the second round that can literally change your franchise around?
Sure, but this is the way the Wizards have drafted since 2014, right? So in 2014, they traded their first.
I'm not saying it's possible because like I mean it is possible, but for certain teams, it's not possible. This is one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, in 2014, they traded for Marcin Gortat. In 2015, they traded Kelly Oubre Jr. for Trevor Ariza. They traded for Markieff Morris in 2016. 2017, they traded for Bogdan Bogdanovic. They traded Troy Brown Jr. was their 2018 first-round pick for Daniel Gafford. They drafted Rudy Hachimura in 2019 and then just traded him away. They drafted Denny Avdia 2 years ago. They drafted Corey Kispert a year and a half ago. And Johnny Davis, the guy they just drafted in this past draft. That doesn't scream. None of those guys scream change different thinkers.
Game changer.
I hated the fact that they went in like even in that draft, like Corey Kispert. When I saw the national champ, like he was killing it for Gonzaga, right? Killing it in the national championship. In the national championship, Baylor straight locked him up, and so that was a kind of microcosm of like, oh, that's what you're gonna see in the NBA. Athletes like that, Corey Kispert. So as he's gotten to the NBA, yes, he's a shooter. Yes, he might be able to shoot when he's open, but he can't create. So that hasn't been, and we don't know what Johnny Davis is going to be in there. They just traded Rui. So yeah, David's right, man. The draft has the history. I mean, the last good draft pick that they had was Bradley Beal.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, but what does this trade mean for both of these teams? Do you think this means anything for their trade deadline?
Nothing.
Does it change the approach of either of these two teams? Like, do you think that the Washington Wizards, because they traded away Rudy Hachimura, is going to also go into a fire sale? Do you think the Lakers are going to stay pat now, or do you think there's more of an incentive for them to try to trade some of those future assets and some contracts to try to improve that team for this season?
if you're the Lakers, obviously, like you should try to make some more moves, right? Like
Mhm.
you gotta make some more moves. This move is not the one that's good. This is not the needle mover, right? But Izzy brought it up. Everything, literally everything. I don't care what move you make. I don't care what you do. Everything is dependent on the health of Anthony Davis.
Yep. I mean,
Right? Like,
even if they were to trade for somebody and Anthony Davis was not healthy, it would mean literally nothing. They're not. They're
Mm-hmm.
not without a healthy Anthony Davis. They're not a championship like caliber team. They're just
right,
not.
they're nothing, right? And like again, Westbrook's fine. Westbrook has played himself into the untouchable role. Right? Like say what you want. Like I know he had a terrible game against Portland, but if he go like he if he hits a stretch where he has 12 really good games and then all of a sudden he follows it up with a bad like with one bad one, I'll take that. Like Westbrook's numbers are up across the board. Like his turnovers are down, his points are up, his rebounds are up, his assists are up, his his play style is just it is what it is now. And
Yep.
he has a coach and he has a coach in Darvin Ham who ain't afraid to be like, hey, bro, it ain't happening tonight. You gonna come sit with me.
I agree with you. But yeah, we'll see what this ends up meaning. Next week, we're going to do more depth into the NBA trade deadline. Talk a little bit more about some trades that could happen next week. Let's talk about some NBA conversation stuff. Let's start with something, nothing, everything. Let's start with the first one. LeBron James became the first player to score over 40 points against every single team in the NBA ever. Something, nothing, everything. Gentlemen.
That's definitely something. That's definitely something. It ain't nothing. That's something. It's not everything. And I know he doesn't really like those individual stats. You know, he said if he
Of
breaks
course he does.
Kareem's,
Of course he
he
does.
lied. He lied. He lied. He
You heard me. You heard me. You heard me.
lied. No, remember you? If you remember that fan a month ago was like, "Hey, LeBron, you gonna cry if you break Kareem record?" He's like, "No, I don't care about that. I don't care about breaking that record." Stop lying. Stop
Please.
lying. Please. So it's definitely something. It means something to LeBron James at age 38. I brought it up, man. We've never seen a player. I mean, we've seen like Michael and Kobe still kind of score, but we didn't see that athleticism like LeBron James still has. That athleticism is. I mean, he's out there jumping with Jason Tatum and guys like the young guns out there, right?
I know
You
we're
gotta keep
past
There's
in
something.
I
mind.
know we're past the trade deadline stuff, but if that Bulls trade that's been rumored like all over the internet, I would 100% do that. Like I'd be making that trade. I'd be like, I would buy a LeBron James Chicago Bulls jersey. I'd wear it all the time. I would be pulling the trigger on that today.
He,
The one thing that has helped
you
LeBron
you
is
enter my KD conference. You enter my KD take. That's what you entering, David. You
No
ain't
way.
never wrong.
At least LeBron is a little realistic.
Go ahead, TJ. My bad.
in what world? Never mind. I'm not going there. Um, the one thing that LeBron has had that those guys haven't is like he's basically been big injury free, right? He hasn't had the torn Achilles that Kobe had,
He
right?
didn't break his foot the way Mike did in year two
he didn't he
or
never
year
broke
one.
his year two. He never had a broken foot the way Mike had. He didn't retire twice and came back the way Mike had, like the way Mike did. The game has gotten considerably less physical in the more LeBron has continued went from clothesline and dudes was basically a common foul to if you do that, bro, you kicked out the game and you suspended for the next 5 games, right? So
Yeah, fine.
for him to score 40 against now every NBA team is like you said, it's something.
It's certainly something. Kudos to LeBron. In case you guys didn't know it, this week is the first NBA Rivals Week. I know we talked about this last year when they first announced it, but this is NBA Rivals Week. So yesterday was the first day of it, where the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat squared off, and then the Lakers and the Clippers
Isn't the
squared off in a
Clippers?
bloodbath that was the Lakers getting beat down by 40 points. But tonight you had the Sixers and the Nets. So you got the Memphis Grizzlies and Golden State Warriors. Rivalry week starting yesterday. Something, nothing, or everything for the NBA.
Um, That I mean, when you look at that Philly and Brooklyn Nets, like that's strictly because Embiid and Simmons, right? I mean, I don't really know like what's the history between those two teams?
It's not Embiid and Simmons. It's Philly and
And
Simmons.
Harden too. Harden used to be on the Nets.
Well,
It's
I also think the history between these
like,
two there was some history back when Jason Kidd and Allen Iverson were playing against each other, way
yeah,
back in the day when they was in Jersey. But yeah, I don't,
I
this is
like it.
nothing.
I like
This
it.
is this
It's
this is
nothing to
nothing.
me.
It's,
Yeah,
it's nothing for me. This is a
yeah,
way to sell merchandise. It's a way to sell advertising for the fan, everyday fan. It's literally nothing. It's just
yeah.
another day on the
It's
schedule.
yeah, exactly. Unless we see these teams playing in the playoffs year after year after year, then it's nothing to me in the regular season.
Like the Nuggets Sixers is one of the rivalry week games. Is that a rivalry?
No,
What makes that a rivalry?
Jokic and Embiid. That's what they're trying
Yeah,
to.
that's it.
Jokic and Embiid.
I guess, but I mean, the Raptors and the Warriors play on Friday night. I mean, is that a rivalry?
They played each other in the finals. The Raptors beat them.
I
You
guess other than
know,
that, I mean,
other than that, right?
so we got a couple more real quick. So this one's gonna be quick. So the Kings are having a pretty solid season, and because of having a pretty good solid season, they've rewarded their GM Monte McNair with an extension, multi-year extension. Based on his results of this so far this season, he took over in 2021, so he's one of the men who's responsible for trading away Tyrese Halliburton. But the Kings are off to a nice start this season. What do you think? Something, nothing, everything for a little bit of stability there in Sacramento.
I honestly think it's everything.
It's everything because you just said it.
Yeah.
It's stability. They haven't had stability in 20 years.
Yep.
I also think it's something. I think it's a little silly to reward a GM that just traded away Tyrese Halliburton, who's having a solid beginning to a season with a multi-year extension. I just don't really get that logic.
He signed Mike Brown though. I mean, they brought in Mike Brown.
Sure,
That's your only.
Turn the culture around.
That's literally your only issue. Is the
It
fact
is,
that they traded
true,
a
but
player that you happen to like. But
no, they traded a player away. They had no need to trade.
No, they did because I bring this up.
They could have traded away De'Aaron Fox instead. Tyrese Halliburton is better than De'Aaron Fox right now.
TJ, come on, David, don't this. De'Aaron, first of all, that pick and roll between De'Aaron Fox and Domas Sabonis is lethal.
Tyrese Halliburton was going to be a starter in the All-Star game before he got hurt. I mean, come on.
Now you see De'Aaron Fox. He's not sitting back there like or sitting next to somebody that's like maybe take his spot or maybe he's playing free now, and you can see that in the Sacramento Kings.
I would have traded Fox instead of Halliburton, but that's just me. To the last one. This one's going to be fun. This is what we talked about last season when they did this, right? So the NBA All-Star rosters, they're going to be picked on the game night. So it's going to be like have captains, and they're going to pick their team live day of. We talked about this when we talked about this last year, that's the way it should be done. You should have the All-Star rosters be picked on game night, just like if you were playing at the Y. You pick your team, pick your 5, and then you go. Something, nothing, everything. This is everything for me. It's going to be must-see television.
It's definitely something.
It's going to add to the rivalry week.
It's gonna be like, yo, Giannis, you picked my man. Like, no, it's definitely something. I don't know about if it's everything, but it's definitely something.
It's awesome entertainment television. I just when like somebody doesn't get picked, like whoever the last pick is, like I just want to see that stuff. His reaction to being the last pick, it's good stuff.
And I'm going to Salt Lake City for All-Star Weekend. I don't care. I'm there. I ain't going to the game, but I'm there.
You can watch Laurie Marketing and the Zero Bulls players. But yeah, that's been NBA Conversation, Something, Nothing, Everything. Hopefully you let us know what you think about the topics we discussed in this segment. Let's get into a staple of the crossover, GOAT Talk. This is TJ's segment. We were supposed to do GOAT Talk last week, but since technical difficulties did not allow us to proceed with GOAT Talk, so we will try to get it in today. TJ, GOAT Talk, my friend. If you don't know, we're going to give some shine to some players. Didn't necessarily get the shine while they were in the National Basketball Association. So this is that conversation. GOAT Talk, TJ, let's go. Player 1.
My hands are up, so I ain't cheating, TJ. Okay? I ain't looking up on Google or nothing.
All right, can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the first player was drafted 6th overall in 2001. for the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Heat.
That's who he played for.
I know
Champion.
I know who this is. Okay, go.
Oh, this is Shane Battier right off the top.
It is Shane Battier.
Wow, you ain't have to finish.
All right, TJ, who's player 2?
Was drafted second overall in 2001. Same draft.
Mike Dunleavy. No, yeah. I think we're TJ. Are you breaking up? I can't hear. We can't hear the rest of what you're saying.
I think he's having he keeps breaking up right when he get to go talk. I don't know what's keep going on.
TJ.
But is it Mike Dunleavy? No, I guess we lost him there. We'll pick up go talk again next week. I have something I want to show you guys.
No. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
It was not Mike Dunleavy.
Oh, okay. So who second overall 2001 draft?
So player 2 is Tyson Chandler.
Oh, Tyson Chandler.
Oh, Dominguez High School, baby.
So the decision is between Shane Battier and Tyson Chandler. Both of them have one ring. Tyson Chandler's got a DPOY. Shane Battier
has 2.
Shane Battier's got 2 rings. Oh yeah, he won 2 with the Heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll take Shane Battier because he was better for the longer, more of his career. Tyson Chandler had a spurt of 5 or 6 seasons where he was really good. On those that Chris Paul team, on that Mavericks team, he was pretty good as a Knick. Then the fall off kind of happened pretty quick for him. I'm going to go Shane Battier.
I'm actually gonna go with the chandelier, baby. The chandelier.
I gotta go with Tyson Chandler.
I'm going with the chandelier, baby. Yeah, and that's a shout out. That's a shout out to the late great Johnny Red Kerr that gave him that nickname when he was a Chicago Bull. I'm going Tyson Chandler because when he left the Bulls, he literally changed he changed what his career, or how he played. He was a pick and roll guy. He knew he had to dive to the rim. He knew he had to play defense, and he was going to stay in the league. And I think that pick and roll between him and Chris Paul was really deadly for a few years. And then he was a key cog. He was a key cog for that Mavericks team, right? He was the center that they needed to win that championship.
Then that's when he won his DPOY award too.
And then when he went to the Knicks, him and Mari Stoudemire.
I thought he won his Knicks as a member of the Knicks.
When he won it as a Knicks. You right.
Yeah. So
let's go in the comment section. Shane Battier versus Tyson Chandler. I'm taking Shane Battier. Everybody else is going Tyson Chandler. So I just want to show you guys this real quick before we get out of the show. So this is Larry Birtle too. So this has consumed a lot of my life. So I apologize if this ends up affecting your life in the future. So this is the way it works. There are lines on each side, and you have to try to connect the lines, right? So let's just get rid of the directions here. And this is the group. So you got to match the rows with the players that played on those teams. And then there's one down that you have to match. So we take the Brooklyn Nets, Harris, and when you're close, they'll turn yellow. So if you got 3 in a row, I think they turn a different color. If you got 4 in a row, you got 23 swaps to do this. Before you 23 stops in order to get the whole puzzle. So, gentlemen,
this is what you do in your free time.
It is. I do. I do this a lot in my free time.
Oh my God. Okay. Randy Foy, Clippers. Hollis Jefferson, Clippers.
He's not on the Clippers. He's not on the Clippers.
Randy Foy?
No.
Okay, Rockets.
It is not the Rockets either.
Not the Rockets. Okay, it's gotta be the Nets. Oh, he was on the Nets. He was on the Nets.
The Nets are right here. Okay. All right. So
he was on the Nets. Yeah. And then Clint Capella's the Rocket. Joe Harris.
It could be.
You're gonna put Harden. He's a Knick. He's a Knick, and he's a net, and he's a Rocket.
Here.
Yeah.
And this is Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon.
This is PJ Tucker. All right, so we got one.
There you go. There you go.
Wait, Randy Foye was a Clipper.
He was a Clipper too at the same
But he's
time.
right. This is right. So
yeah. Williams the third. Who's that? Robert Williams?
yes, it is.
Luke Mute is a Clipper. If I'm not mistaken. Who's Brown? Brown who?
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown? Okay.
So this is Channing Frye.
Is that Channing Frye? Okay.
It's got to be.
Yeah. It's definitely Channing Frye.
We only got 10 moves now. So this is Alfred Payton. So he goes here.
Alfred Payton, so he's going with the yep, there you go. DeAndre Jordan.
So this is probably Tobias Harris. And he did play on he played on the Magic.
There you go, JJ Redick, baby.
So it's not over. It's not over. So now there's one that goes diagonal across, up and down. So we got to match it up and down.
Now you got to match it up
Harden,
and down.
Harris, Brown,
Randy Foye,
Clippers, Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. See?
Oh! Look at that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. This is Larry Birtle too. You can play this as many times a day as you want. It's fun. It's addictive. This is how I spend a lot of my time.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Like I'll run this. I'll do that at work while I'm trying to build my show and stuff, dude. And it's a good time. But yeah, this has been the crossover with Buyers and Sellers edition. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you can't catch us live, we do have a myriad of streaming services. I've shared the link to all of those places. And Izzy, where can you watch us?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much. And gentlemen, I'm joined here by Mr. CEO, Prime Mr. Isla Rivera, my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins, and I'm the host, David On Point Huffman. Thank you all for joining us. And what we do here at the Prime, my friends.
Bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bring in the heat.
And we're going to be bringing a double dose of the Prime tomorrow. We've got the fantasy football recap show, and then we're going to be breaking down the Arizona Cardinals offseason preview. So keep an eye out for that content. We will see you all tomorrow. You all be safe out there. The weather is still sort of dicey here in Fort Wayne. If you're driving tonight, please be safe.
Yes, sir.
So
peace out, guys.